Hello, you delicious people, and welcome back to another intimate episode of Intimate Conversations with a delicious sister. I swear, I think my mom's dead. Your mom's alive calling you during podcast. So maybe she'll adopt me as your another.
My mom is amazing.
That's so awesome. So for those of you that don't know, this is the amazing Sara Schulting Krantz. She's an author. She is a keynote speaker. She is a trauma and personal leadership authority, a wilderness guide, an expert in utilizing nature healing. And as a multiple trauma survivor, she, like millions of others in this world, have suffered from severe PTSD that almost took her life and could have left her 3 children motherless. But she navigated through her anger and her pain and her grief while hiking 14,000-foot mountains and paddling 4 miles out to sea with whales and with dolphins who are so healing. And through this process, she found that the most important relationship you can have, which is why she's on this show, is because it's with ourselves, people.
Yeah.
She harnessed the healing power of nature through her own PTSD and intense trauma recovery, which included somatically healing through nature while practicing the art of forgiveness with herself, with others, and the world, which we're actually filming this on a day where there's been some news where we need to do that again. Maybe we'll talk about that. Sara coaches clients, leadership executives, organizations on the necessity and benefits of using nature for mental and emotional health, which is why I'm looking at horsies. Oh, Joker's looking right at me right now. So like 9 horsies around me, I so get it. And you will find Sara speaking to businesses, corporations, and running executive leadership workshops, in addition to leading healing, transformational, and leadership retreats in the Grand Canyon and Alaska. And she's become an expert guide in using nature for trauma recovery. And she also has an intense passion for getting people outdoors to deal with the lasting post-traumatic symptoms we've been experiencing for the last 2 years. And her book, Walk Through This, Harness the Healing Power of Nature and Travel the Road to Forgiveness, was released November 2020. And a quote, "Nature is where we let go of who we are told to be and find who we were born to become all along." Amazing, Sara.
I've actually sat and had like somebody do that in front of me. I'm like, oh wow.
That's me.
I love my team. They did a really nice job of putting that together.
Absolutely, they
Surround
did.
yourself with good people. That's one. It's one of the very big things that I have learned.
Yeah. And surround yourself with people who are better than you at everything, except for what you're best at, right?
100%. And hand things off that you don't like to do because you want other people that are good at them to put their good energy into it versus your frustrational energy into the things that I don't really care about. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So, at least you're putting your energy into kimono shopping. I'm loving your outfit. And you're in the warmth, and I'm still in Wyoming in my fuzz.
I love that.
No,
it's amazing.
That's where I came here to heal from the last abusive, physical and verbal abusive relationship. And it's been so good. I mean, I'm a small town Canadian girl, so I love nature anyways, but I forgot literally how healing it is. The horsies, the bunny rabbits, there's all sorts. How did you discover in all of your world that nature was like your thing to heal and then teach it to others?
You know, it's so funny. My healing in nature started when I was 17.
Okay.
But I didn't know it. Actually, let's just put it to you this way. It starts when we're little kids and we don't realize it. So it's kind of like, if you think about all the times that your parents have said, go out and play, or, skedaddle, you guys are fighting, get outside. I know for myself, that's how I was born and raised. And I can think back to those moments, actually, when I was a little girl, where I would be really upset, mad at my brothers, and I would go swing. And swinging, being on the swings would make me feel better, or playing on the monkey bars until the tornado took them away, and how many times that we built tree forts. We did all of the things of being outside, and that actually grounded us and brought us back to center and allowed us to release a lot of the anxiety and frustration that unfortunately so many children are feeling today.
Yeah.
And so, it started back then. I just didn't know it. It was one of those subconscious, unconscious things that was happening. When I was 17, I experienced my first trauma. I was actually raped by somebody that I knew. And I found myself, being born and raised in a small town, a small community, I found myself feeling very alone, full of shame, full of remorse, like my life was going to stop and end. And there's a whole, it's in my book. You can read it there. It's all in there. I really like dove into that part of it. And what's interesting is that during that time in my life, I went outside. And I would plop my little butt in cornfields. I would go fishing with my mom next to the creeks. I would walk down Main Street. The other thing that was interesting, I spent a lot of time in the art room. Art became my go-to. So when we're talking about art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy, it's the movement, right? And it's also the allowing ourselves for our brain to slow. And through art, that became my space where I wasn't thinking about, I wasn't ruminating on the trauma. I was allowing myself to find creative flow that allowed my frontal lobe to slow down. And fast forward, I became an art teacher. But what's really interesting, thinking back and like feeling into it now as an adult, the work that I did, a lot of the work that I did was drawing nature scenes. And so I would, go outside and I would draw the farms and I would draw. I swear I had my phone off. I don't understand. My phone just went off.
Phone cracks.
I seriously, like, keeps flying through. Oh, that's because my son made my phone a quacking sound. And then I was on the ocean. The little sidebar. I was on the ocean paddling and my phone started quacking. And I was like, I'm on the ocean. There aren't ducks out here. And so now I can't change my phone. So anyhow, that really became my space of really like, that was like the I could say the seed to everything, right? Of me being in nature. Fast forward at 40, I experienced my second round of tremendous trauma when I found out my husband had been betraying me for 14 of 17 years of our marriage. And so my entire life imploded. And what it did is it brought up all the trauma from the past. I was literally in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, PTSD, complex PTSD. You will never fully understand the space of being in another human's shoes until you are in your own shoes and are sitting there going, okay, where am I? What is my life? What is happening to me? And I really felt like I was, like my life just ended. And so I did what I learned at 17, which was get my little butt outside. And so I grabbed my paddleboard. I now at this point lived next to the ocean, where I still live, next to the ocean. And I would grab my paddleboard and go paddle out and whales and dolphins would just appear. It was the craziest thing. And I found that nature became my space, and it's not to escape. And so this is where people think this. They think that there's a lot of people that would question, like, what are you escaping from? It's not what I'm escaping from. It's what I'm allowing myself to no longer attach to. Right. And so when we're constantly in the trauma, the rumination of our day, of what's happening in our life, there is no room to actually to feel peace, but then also to find clarity. And so what I was doing was I was going out onto the ocean and giving myself space and time to find me again, outside of all of the shit that was happening in my life at that time. I would go on the ocean, or I would climb mountains with friends. I would go, just run the green belt, which is right behind my house, which is just a green path. And what's interesting? Here's what's really interesting is that when I allowed myself to experience peace, when I allowed myself to be, magical moments happened. And so I would have a butterfly just land in my hand and play. I would sit there and watch a spider weave a web. And it's in those awe and wonder of magical moments that you realize that life doesn't end when you experience these difficulties. Yeah. It really can be the foundation of something truly beautiful in your life. It's very hard to see it at that time. I didn't see it at that time because I was so, like in the depths of the shit. But, and what's happened since then, I'm 48, so that happened at 40, is that my life, the more magical moments that I invited in, the more magic happened and continues to happen. Doesn't mean that I don't get triggered. Doesn't mean that I still don't have, the difficulties like others. Doesn't mean that I still don't sit there going, there's moments where I still, land in my own puddle of tears and they're like, how the hell did this happen? Right. Mm-hmm. And yet the more that we step outside of it, the more that we don't stay there, and we can pick ourselves back up that much more quickly and experience more of the magic that is here for us to experience in this world. Yeah. So that's the nuts and bolts of it.
Sara, as you're sharing with me, Sara, I'm getting a deeper, so two things and then a question. First, we had a cabin at the lake every single summer, and we were the first in a row of cabins. So it was just nature beside us, and mom and dad fought for 30 years, then got a divorce. And I can still hear in my mind, like my mind's eye, you go to the side of the cabin, you jump, bump, bump, and you're in nature. And it's where I would go every single day to be with the fairies. And that was my happy place. And that I didn't see it until you said it. Like, I knew I loved to do that, but I didn't feel the soup of the air, the ground that was helping me integrate, because now I'm a professional integrator, right? I've got all these quantum psychology processes and I understand spiritual technology and I can heal PTSD and trauma and all the rest of it. But I didn't get that I was like, now I'm the soup. Now I'm the space holder. But I was being held by nature, growing up all those years to process everything that was going on inside that cabin and inside that house. So thank you for that, number one. Number two, I'm so glad we're both paddleboarders. I used to suck at like volleyball, basketball. I was always on the B team. Couldn't hit the freaking baseball, the softball, couldn't do any of that shit. But get me on a paddleboard, I'm like, I am Pocahontas. I have done this before. I am in my happy place. Like your hara, like, right? Your second chakra.
100%.
I'm a generator, like human design generator.
So am I.
Are you a generator too?
Oh yeah, girl. Oh yeah, I am. Oh yeah, I am.
Maybe that's why, I don't know, but I feel it right there. And I can feel to the bottom of the ocean or the bottom of the lake, or wherever I am. And I can be like that sweet spot of, you have to be strong. You got to be willing for anything to come, but you've also got to be supple and not react. You've got to be present. You've got to be present. Yep. Fall off the damn thing. So we're going to have to go paddleboarding. Let's just bookmark that.
Yeah.
Bookmark that right now. And then lastly, so more into the question, when people go into nature, you're right. It's not an escape, but to me, it's like swimming into non-judgment. It's swimming into kind, compassionate, unconditionally loving witnessing. It welcomes rage, tears. It welcomes weather. It welcomes our own weather. And we don't go, at least I don't go in for a solution, but solutions arise out of their own accord when you're in nature, to me, more easily in the city. So tell us more about that for you. And then how have you woven that into what you do for people? Because you lead these retreats in nature. Like, let's go on a hike. Like, how do you act? What do you say? Do you just say like, shut the fuck up and don't talk? We're just not going to talk here for an hour. Like, what do you do in nature with these people?
Well, okay. So it's so interesting because being on a paddleboard, I always say you're in flow. Yeah. You can't fight it, by the way. You just can't. And being Pocahontas is something that I've had to do because I've literally found myself in fog 4 miles offshore on the Pacific Ocean. One day I was just like paddling out, processing information, and all of a sudden I looked up and I went, oh my God, there's a fog bank. Okay. And it's moments, and this also goes into nature gives us what we need. Yeah. We so often look at it like it's this, it's turmoil. It's a tornado. It's a this, it's a that. It truly hands us what we need at all times. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when that fog bank came in, just using that as an example, it wasn't, I could have freaked out. I could have been like, oh my God, what an idiot. What am I doing out here? All the things. And I didn't. I sat there with it and I thought, what is this here to teach me? Yeah, nice. Why is this fog coming in right now into my life? Because I literally am living in a fog. And so why is this? And this was about the time that I was starting to come out of my fog, right? But I was literally like, what is this about? And for me, it was listening. It was awareness. And so I remember flipping my board around and literally asking, okay, which way is the current going? Which way is the wind going? Just really noticing the swells, noticing the direction that I came out, because all I needed to do was flip my board and that would take me right back in, right? And so paying attention to the direction, paying attention to the wind, asking for help. So I literally was like, could you send me some dolphins? I would really appreciate that. And what happened? Dolphins showed up. And so, and I literally was led back into the harbor of the ocean. I was led back into where the mouth of the harbor where I actually went out. And when I was pulling my board up that day onto the dock, I remember thinking to myself, isn't this fascinating? I have everything that I need to get me to where I need to go.
Yeah.
I have my true north. My true north is in me. I can listen and trust. I can have faith in myself. I have empowerment through, and more empowerment through my own power that I have within me. Yeah. I'm completely aligned. I know what I'm doing. And for other people to sit there and say to you, to question you, or to question your journey, or to, try to push you off course, don't let them, because you know where you need to go. And so it doesn't mean that we don't sometimes falter and then have to come back on. It's not like that. It's life, right? Like that's life. And you also have everything that you need. And goes back to in my book where I said the first person to have that relationship with it is you. You have to have that relationship and to believe within yourself first, right? And so that's something that took me a long time in my life to come to understand, to truly realize the depth of it. When I'm leading retreats in the Grand Canyon, so I lead land healing retreats in the Grand Canyon. I lead water healing retreats in Alaska. My life doesn't suck. My life doesn't suck, I have to say. Like, I freaking love the work that I do, and I'm super passionate about it. And by the way, this stems back to, where did my ideas come from to even do this work? I was on the Pacific Ocean, and one of my friends who I was paddling with said, if you could do anything, what would you do? Because I said, I want to do something in this lifetime, and I don't know what it is. I felt stuck. This was probably about the age of 42. So I was I was in my trauma recovery, obviously, right? But like also stepping out of it. And I said, I would love to take people out into nature and have them experience what I experience. And he said, well, then do it. And I was like, but I don't know how. And he goes, really? How do you do anything? You take a step. And I went, okay, all right, holding myself accountable. And so that in and of itself is a metaphor for life, right? And so every mountain, every summit is climbed with 1,000 steps, sometimes tiny, sometimes we go backwards because we need to, and that's okay. And so when I'm leading these retreats, I do water healing in Alaska, where we kayak next to glaciers. It's a very cleansing water. It in and of itself is a real healing property. And then we do land healing in the Grand Canyon. And that's more of the Grand Canyon's a metaphor for life, I always say. And it's also a space that I went to do my own healing. I've been climbing the canyon for a number of years. And you go down in, it's the only place on earth where you go into the canyon, just like you're going into self. You sit there, we play, we adventure, we do energy healing, we coach, we explore. And it's like this exploring of self, right? This inner self. And then we come out, and when we hike out, we really truly are different human beings. And here's the thing that I would, we always, yes, you're different, and yet it's always been within you. And so it's like this new space of aligning with the human that you were and have been all along. And it's peeling back the layers to get to her or to him. And so it's just a beautiful metaphor. And it's something that I have people go on my retreats 2-3 times. Sometimes they go back to the canyon. I've got a retreat in July, and a couple of women are going back to the canyon, and they're like, I want to go back and also to continue the work. And I always say, it's not a one and done. You always have to continue on this journey. I do it. I do a personal retreat myself, just myself and 1 or 2 friends every year in the mountains. for, between 7 days and 22 days, literally. And to me, it's that self-exploration that is been the most beautiful gift coming out of the most difficult times in my life.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love this. I'm reminded of the temazcals I've done in Mexico, and then swimming in the cenotes afterwards. This like made out of clay oven that is the womb. You go into the womb of the earth, and the grandfather stones are in the center, and you let go. Like in round 1, you let go of what you want to release, and then in round 2, with fresh stones and fresh water, and you basically breathing is like really hard.
Right.
So you can barely inhale. It's so friggin' hot. But then the second you begin to chant and sing, and you sing out who you are and what you claim and what you're creating. So I love that. And then you go swim in these underground cenotes,
Wow.
freshwater pools. So I understand I sense the transformation in nature. That's so beautiful. I'm wondering, because you said your son made the quack quack on your phone. The
did.
Capacity for anyone to be a profound listener when they can't even listen to themselves. Like you can't be a great parent if you can't even listen to yourself. And to me, one of the greatest gifts we can give our children is to be that safe listener, the one that doesn't judge, the one that wants to say, what the, and just goes, oh, tell me more. Right. And be the one who asks the questions to guide them to think well, rather than control them or tell them what to do. So I'm very curious, from 40 to 48, you said now, like, how has your parenting changed? How has the relationship changed? Because you have how many boys?
I have 3 boys. Yeah. I have 3 boys. Yeah. I think it's so funny. I just sent a note to somebody today, and I said, parenting has changed. My oldest is 30, and parenting has changed tremendously from 30 years ago. And I was a really young parent. And so that, I think, in and of itself was difficult. I was still parenting myself when I was.
You must have had them when you're like 12.
Yeah, I was young, and it was a really difficult, again, it's in the book. I wrote about it in the book, and it's parenting, especially today with everything that is happening. And we just had this horrific shooting yesterday in Texas, and I used to be a teacher, right? And so one of the greatest gifts for me, I was just writing about this on my Instagram today. One of the greatest gifts for me as a teacher, becoming a teacher, was being able to watch and witness these beautiful little souls, these children, grow into, who they were meant to become, and to step into their greatest gifts. And so being a parent is really hard, though, these days, because there's just so much out there that you are navigating through. Yeah. I know for myself, and I've talked to my kids about this, I really messed up. Every parent does along the way, many times. And I've had to hold myself accountable for those times that I have messed up. I do hold myself accountable. And it's also reminding yourself that you are human too, and to give yourself compassion. Yeah. Being a parent today is very different than it was when my parents raised me. And, and then when their parents raised them, and it will continue to be that way. And I think, unfortunately, with technology and everything that's happening so fast in this world, you can't keep up. I mean, literally, like, you can't keep up with all of the things that are coming our way all of the time. I was just talking to somebody about these new, I don't even know what they are, like pictures that you can, like, what HM, I don't know, beats the heck out of me, but things that, like, are, again, technology driven. And I'm like, how do we stay on top of all of this stuff? And so you can't. And so the best thing, what I've tried to do, is to go back to what are the values within me, and how can I share those values with my kids, also encouraging them to become the young men that they were put on this world and on this planet to become. Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And navigating through divorce, and then navigating through the pandemic, and navigating through, my own ex-husband's addictions, and navigating through, like, all of it. It's the one thing that I promised my kids, because of what I went through, is that I would never lie to them. So I remember even as they were young kids, and I said, the worst thing that I have experienced is a life where somebody was lying to me.
Mm.
And dishonesty is one of the things that I can't have in my life. And so for me, what I realized through my own work is what my true values are, and why my trauma hurt so bad was because I've always believed so deeply in truth.
Mm.
And I've always been a big truth teller. And so, truth, inspiration, hope have been three of my words that have guided me through my journey. And so when I realized, oh my gosh, my truth, the truth, how much I honored truth and how much it was stepped on as a value within my marriage, that was one of the biggest moments for me, because I realized how much that truth was not honored between the two of us. And so that has been a space with my kids where I'm like, I will always be honest with you. You may not agree with me. You may not, there may be times where we don't agree, and that's okay. But for me, honesty has always been a really big thing.
Mm.
It's not easy. It's not easy being a parent today. It's just not. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I just want to take a moment, because we are pre-recording this right after a very large shooting, and just to take a moment and send out love before them, love behind them, love beside them, to the left and to the right, love above them and love below them, of all those parents who lost their kids. Yeah. Just to know that we feel them. I don't know what else in this particular moment on a podcast to do, but to not gloss over that, I think, is very important.
It's very important. And I thank you for that, because, it's speechless. Like, right? I actually thought about calling you and saying, I don't know if we should do this today, because it was, for me, I went on the ocean right before this, and I was sitting there thinking, and I was just sitting on the water, and I'm just like, we have gone through so much turmoil.
Yeah.
We've gone through so much turmoil as a world, as a society. And these children, like all of the children that are coming up right now, and with me having been a teacher and then also raising three boys, and my kids are 30, 20, and 15. So they're of very different ages. Mm-hmm. And just sitting here thinking about, as a parent, how much has shifted in those 30 years and will continue to shift.
Yeah.
And when are we could go into a whole thing here, right? When are we going to realize the importance of sitting in love, of sitting in compassion, in sitting in understanding, in sitting in that space of holding ourselves accountable for the things that we need to fix, that we need to take care of within ourselves, but then also rising into the space of connection and community, where it also then allows the kids to feel safe.
Yeah. Because
right now my son, I had to have the conversation with him about going to school, and do you feel safe right now? And it's sad.
And it's a wake-up call.
It's a major wake-up call.
One of the lessons, Sara, that is important to me, and it sort of circles back to what you just were saying about truth and dishonesty and the rest of it. So there's a mother of the man that killed all those children.
Yes.
And I don't know where she is on her evolutionary journey either. But so there's that angle we can look at, sending her compassion. How do you live with your child that just did that?
Yeah. That's
even assuming she cares. I don't even know if she's alive, right? Like, so there's so many questions. I don't want to go into assumptions, but there's that. And there's the really deep, I am you, you are me, we are one. So that boy that did that to those kids, that anger, where am I angry at myself? Where is he me? Right. Where am I that angry at my own, like, self-hatred, self-criticism, lack of self-forgiveness? Where is he a holographic projection of me? I take that to my last relationship where I was physically and verbally assaulted. not okay. Not okay that the gentleman killed the children. Not okay. So I'm not condoning shit. However, again, what can I do? What can I do is go, where is my ex me? Where have I been hitting me, hitting my truth, hitting my integrity, hitting my worth, hitting my, deservability, saying I'm not good enough? Where is he an outer projection of how I'm treating myself? Because I tried to inspire him, change him, love him, which is another way of saying fix him.
Right.
Rather than do my own inner work, leave the relationship way at the beginning when it all started, and go, what in me is attracting that? Let me take full ownership and responsibility for that, because he is me. And do this next deep level work of where inside of me do I, let's say I, like we all have feminine, masculine inside of us, right? So where does my feminine still is pissed at the masculine? You betrayed me. You didn't speak up. You didn't show up. You didn't step up. Where am I saying that to me? Right? And inside of me, what masculine energy would feel inspired to step up when I'm being such a hyper-vigilant name caller, right? Or saying, save me, being the victim, the damsel, right? So like, oh my God, so much self-ownership inside of me.
Yeah.
That's helped me heal and grow. And could we all be human, grieve? You're supposed to cry your face off. It's supposed to hurt like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And we must go through the phases. And where, with what's happening in the world, even the virus, why can't we be infected with a virus of love? What is this virus teaching us about where we're not loving each other and ourselves? Like, see everything on the symbolic. That's the work I can do when I get on my paddleboard, contemplate.
Yeah. Well, that's the work that I was doing for sure. I mean, there's little snippets here and there within what you just said that literally I sit with.
Yeah. I'm curious if going back to your story about your relationship and truth being such a value of yours, and yet there was dishonesty. So was there a place where you were being dishonest with yourself?
100%.
Manifested
1,000%. I can see it just very, very clearly.
Yeah, totally.
This is why truth is so important too, because, and this is why family secrets need to stop. They really need to stop, because I look at it as there was so much that happened to me at 17 that was brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
You can just rise above, just go to college, just do this, become this, right?
Yeah,
and sense. So there was so much within myself, so much shame that I held, and so much shame that I held.
Yeah,
right. And so that's how, for me, I look at it, and it makes sense. It makes clear sense. I mean, it didn't take long for me after that happened, with my husband, with my former husband, that I went, oh, well, of course this happened. And then on top of it, here's where this is why something that I use with my clients all the time is I know, like just trust me. I do know now. Right. And it doesn't mean that there aren't times where I screw up as well and land it back on my butt and go, what the hell? Right. Didn't listen to myself then. Here's the interesting thing about it, though, is that throughout my marriage, now I can look back and say, oh, that's what that was. That's where the red flag was.
Yes.
That's when I questioned and I listened to you instead of me.
Yeah.
And so now I know my inner compass. That's why it goes back to me being in the fog on the ocean. I knew how to get myself back in, because for God's sakes, I could finally listen to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you can finally say to yourself, okay, shut the noise out. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's not an ego space. That is a God-given, faith-based, you have a voice within, a spirit voice within that we all have and can listen to. And the problem, what I see in this world as well, is that there's so much freaking noise.
Yeah.
And so going out into nature is where we can actually quiet and listen to ourselves. And when I say noise, I mean noise of material items, noise of, we got to have the bigger house, the faster car. We have to have the bigger building. We have to have the biggest ring. We have to have, like, that's the material side of it. But then it's the side of social media. where do we go for therapy help? We go to social media. Where do we go for news? We go to Twitter. Where do we go? And it's like, wait a second here. There's so much noise that where is the truth?
Yeah.
Where is the honesty? And so what happens? We end up going into that doing state, and we get mad and we get angry. And so then we lash out, and it's not right. It's just simply not right. And so where, for me, it's like, where have we missed the connection within self first and then with others? Where have we lost that connection that ultimately is also the source and the thread of love that goes throughout society and throughout this world, so that we can put the anger down, right? We can set the anger aside and say, guess what? Regardless if you like it or not, we are all human beings and we are all connected. Just like the whales are connected in the ocean, the dolphins are connected in the ocean. There's the everything, right? We are humans connected by source of love. And so we have to, there's this space where it's like, we've lost it. We've lost it.
You speak exactly to why I'm on the planet, Sara. We've lost that intimate connection with ourselves, but just saying that we have doesn't do shit about it.
It doesn't do shit about it. No. And that's why I do the work that I do. That's why with every human that you touch. And that's why when people get mad at me, and there are people that get mad at me, let me tell you, there are people that get mad at me for speaking my truth. And my whole thing is, now I was born and raised Catholic. I'm a very spiritual, and also, I'm finding my way in the world of religion and spirituality and all of the things. And I always, forever, and it always will be. What I have said, though, over and over to the people that have said to me, why do you have to speak the truth so much? I have said, because guess what? If I don't speak the truth, the darkness wins. And there is no way in hell that I am going to close my eyes when I leave this earth and allow that to happen. Because we are all light, and we deserve to shine in the way that we were placed on this earth. And so I'm like, that's always my space. I'm like, you want to go there? It's not going to happen here. So, that's why for me, I'm so passionate about it, because with every human that you touch, every light that then gets shown a little bit more in another person, they are then transcending it to other humans. And the ripple goes on.
Yeah. What I was going to say before about the intimacy is I find that I don't attract as much anger once I've integrated my own anger. I don't attract as much, not that I don't attract it, but I don't attract as much triggering of the wound, I guess is a way to say it, when I've integrated the wound within me.
Yes.
Like I would attract situations to be shamed because I hadn't integrated my own shame, or to have anger come at me because I hadn't integrated my own anger.
Yeah.
This intimacy with self isn't about just like, oh, lovey-dovey rainbows. It's about, no, we're going to sit in the fire. We're going to face that which we don't want anyone to know. We don't want it to be in there. We don't want anyone to know it's going to be in there, but that resistance is actually making it grow. We see that all over the planet. So can we come in and have compassion, understanding, acknowledgement, validation, with the caveat, and I'm willing to sit with this part of me, not to fix it and change it so we can all be the light.
Right.
To sit with it for eternity, if that's how long it takes, and just listen.
Yeah.
Just listen. Because yes, speaking truth is, to me, the other side of it, like absolutely imperative, but sometimes saying nothing is the more powerful way to be, of not reacting. And they're like, poke, poke, poke. And you're like, nope, not going there.
100%. I
totally. Or
totally.
All the flavors, like the difference between having to say something or speak, like I interrupt to say what you're going to say, or I have the right to speak my truth. It's still a reaction.
Yes.
It's not a choice yet. And so I notice if ever I need to say something, I'm just like, where is that coming from? You're resisting something inside of yourself, because true response is like, it's from neutrality. It's a choice. But anything that I'm leaning a little forward or I'm hiding a little bit, I'm like, there's my work. That's my work, to come back to allow all.
Allow.
Judge nothing. Friggin' hard. When we don't prefer it and we don't like it, and it hurts. It hurts. Yeah.
Well, and I think that the reaction space was made for a very long time out of safety, right? And so when I needed to feel safe, I was really good at reacting. And that stems from when I was young. Stems from 17. And
yeah, true.
So now there are many times where I just sit and say nothing, and I'm just like, okay. Just totally okay.
Yeah, where do we find the place where we come to that truth of what there is to do is speak up, show up, step up, right?
Yeah.
And where is the truth, the highest good for all? Let it go. Don't waste your energy. Focus on where you're going, right? Because you can spiritually bypass by saying, oh no, I'm just going to be the light. I'm not going to say anything. That could actually be a bypass. Or speaking
100%.
could be a reaction, right?
100%.
So I just want to invite the viewers and listeners that take it all with a grain of salt, because the presupposition of it all, to me anyways, is have you come home into alignment before, so that you're actually at choice. Because I was very much if I wasn't 3 steps ahead, and I think you probably had a similar upbringing, I could get hurt. So I had to be fast. I had to be quick. I had to be smart. I had to be ahead. I had to keep talking. Don't stop talking, because if you stop talking, they could hit you, right? Like, yeah, I know that place. Yeah. And then to sit in the fear of, I'm not going to say anything. And the fear is, it doesn't make any fucking sense, but it's like, I could be killed. No, all you're doing is shutting your trap, Alana, but I could be killed. Breathe. And I'm like, okay, we're going to integrate this level, right? I think you get it, right?
I totally understand.
Yeah.
There's different times. I had a fantastic upbringing. It's like, I loved my family, and we have an incredibly close knit family.
Yeah.
And also there has been definitely times in my life where I've exactly what you're saying, 100% what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a world, right? It's just I couldn't ask to be doing anything better than what I am right now in this world. I freaking love this work. And I think that that's actually been the most amazing part, because I've also gotten to meet people like you, it's just awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I so acknowledge that what you're doing is delighting you. It's what's your happy place, and that you can be the embodiment of what's possible as an invitation to people. I'm similar. I was driving for my weekly massage that I normally do on a Friday, but Friday's a holiday, so I did it this morning. And I was driving back, and the mountains are snow covered, and it goes forever. And I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm living in a little rental, and all my stuff's in a pod. So I furnished it with a thrift store. Like, I'm just like, it's not like I'm in my lush, thing. I'm just like, and I'm so happy. And I'm so grateful I've cultivated a place. And I like beautiful things, but I've cultivated a place where I can find beauty in the most simple things.
Uh-huh.
Very proud of that. And even those civil courts next week, I am so proud I've been doing the deep work. So when I'm there to say my testimony, it will come not from the blame, not from the spiritual bypass, but from that centered queen place and gratitude, because these people are our greatest masters, spiritual teachers, the ones that piss us off the most, annoy us the most, hurt us the most, right? They're our teachers. And
so true.
Bravo. As a mother, you can be humble and vulnerable and pass on. I'm so sorry about that. That was a good year of that. Was like, I remember my son, I'm like, I would do something like, shit, that's an hour of therapy. I know it, and then I'd do something else. I'm like, oh, I'm so not perfect at this. Clearly that's not
None of us are. And I think,
no.
the thing with parenting is that I really hope that people can be more self-compassionate towards themselves when it comes to parenting, because there's a lot of my friends that I see right now, we stop and we chat about it, and they're just like, oh, my son's having such a hard time. My daughter's having such a hard time. And I'm like, and you know what? So are we. It's parenting is the greatest gift, and it also does not come with a manual.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So
just a shout out to everyone that is a parent out there, and we're all parents of ourselves, reparenting, right? Our little ones inside. And I love that we do this. I love that we do our podcast and we do our IG lives, and
I know, it's so
I'm so
fun.
grateful to see you. And I want everyone to know how to play with you more. So I know that at your site, which is your name, Sara Schulting Krantz, and this will all be in the show notes, by the way, /free has some goodies for people.
Yeah, there's, it's funny. There are so many free things on my website. That particular one takes you to 5 free meditations that I recorded that are also in my book. But you can get those through the website. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Just all sorts of how nature is your therapy and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, you can find everything on my website, sarashultingkranz.com. You'll find my TED Talk there on forgiveness. The book is there, a bracelet that I collaborated with My Saint, My Hero on, which is really fun. They're created actually in Uganda, which is a really beautiful by women. And so it's just a beautiful way to meditate in nature with 7 stones of forgiveness. And then my retreats. Now I'm stopping. I don't know if you know this. We're actually stopping the Grand Canyon retreats post January of 2023. Did you know that?
Because why?
So the National Park Service is redoing the water pipeline. And so they're going to stop services at the bottom for at least a year, starting in May of 2023. And as this happens, as we all know, I've always wanted to start doing corporate work and more, and get on stage and speak more and do more workshop kind of stuff with people. And so, but I love these retreats so much. And so, so I would say the universe said, oh, really? You're not going to actually just go fly out of the tree. We're going to push you. And so they decided to redo the water pipeline. And I went, I mean, who decides to do that? Right. And I said, okay, well, I guess that this is the sign that I need to move on and start doing other stuff. So I will definitely be doing 2 retreats a year, 1 land, 1 water. I just am not sure where they're going to be post the Grand Canyon. So jump in while you can, because these are really life-changing. We have 1 spot left in July, and then we have November, which is already filling, and 2 in January. And yeah. And then we're running, actually, I don't know when this is landing, but I'm doing a retreat in, do you know Florence Williams? She wrote the Nature Fix bestselling author. She's amazing. You would love her. She actually would be a really good one for you to get into your podcast at some point.
Oh,
so, yeah, there you go. There you go. She wrote Heartbreak, and she's lived through a lot on her own. She's a researcher as well. She's super cool. So we're doing a retreat together in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado in July as well. So yeah, that's the whole power of collaboration and having fun with people like this. I mean,
yeah, sisterhood is the best.
Sisterhood, it's the best. It's the best.
Totally. It's like 1 + 1 = infinity. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly, like that's how we rise together. And so that's the beauty of all of this.
I love it, honey. So again, sarashultingkrantz.com /free for those meditations and all the other goodies that she's speaking of, and get your ass to the Grand Canyon with her. I feel this question just keeps coming through me. So I'm going to ask, this is normally how I end the podcast, is I want everyone to take a nugget that they've learned that really has moved them or touched them. And I want you to take an action. I want that action to either be like, go out in nature, or get with your journal, or get on your paddleboard, or whatever, but allow this conversation to literally not just be inspirational, which I hope it's been, but transformational. And that, just one little dial that you turn on the boat, you end up in a different country by the time you get to the other side of the ocean, right? So one step, don't underestimate it. It can change the rest of your life. So that, but the last question I wanted to ask is, what would you like to say? And I'm going to say it as this way, not nature, but Mother Nature. What would you like to say to Mother Nature?
Oh, gosh.
I think it's going to be profound. I can sense it.
Wow. So what's interesting is that after I lead the retreats, I always sit at the top. There's 2 things I do. I stay at the bottom for a few moments before we all hike out, and I just sit with the water that goes through the canyon and say thank you, and give it a blessing and allow it to bless in return. And then I do the same at the top of the canyon for all of the people that have hiked through and left the things that they don't want to hold on to any longer at the bottom, but then also the rebirth that comes from that. And, I would say to Mother Nature, to Mother Earth, You have been the biggest gift for me in my lifetime, and I could not be more honored and grateful to have been born at this time, to be held so sacredly through this journey of breath and living in alignment with my own heart, soul, mind, body, spirit, and to have given me this beautiful gift to then share with the world and how they can utilize this space and this time within their own life as well. I have so much gratitude. I just have so much gratitude and love and fierce compassion for how she is also being treated by us at this time, because we as humans could be doing a hell of a lot better job in treating her with the same compassion as how she treats us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen and aho right there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. I sort of imagine her going, I could fucking kill you like that. like it is with a tsunami or with an earthquake, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Like so powerful. And her patience with us, her patience and compassion with us. I want to say thank you, Mother Gaia, for that. I want to thank you for your thrum, your pulse, your vibration, that when I get really quiet, I can align with, that you not only energetically with beauty and hold me, but that I can connect with you. And that when I'm remembering, I try to love you when I walk upon you. And I hope you feel that. And I will do even better job of receiving your love back. And thank you for loving us all. Yeah, you're exquisite. Oh,
I know.
That's a really yummy way to end the podcast. I'm sort of
good.
so
good.
Okay, so
good.
We love you. Thanks.
I love you. Thank you.
Stay on as I just stop here, but to the rest of you, thank you so much for being with us on Intimate Conversations. It is an honor and privilege to be in your world. Thank you for receiving our gifts today, and we adore you. Mwah.